Happy New Year, lovely people. Welcome to the first day of 2018. It is the first day of the new year, and I know many of you have made a lot of resolutions for yourself. I have made just one, and that is to listen to all the stories of the women I can this year, no matter how small or big a story it is. And the purpose is to motivate and inspire other women out there as they're going through life. And I think stories are really important because if you're going through it, no matter how small or big it is, someone else has gone through it, is going through it, or will go through it in the future, and your story could be an inspiration to them. And that's what this channel is all about. So I hope you enjoy the series. I hope you enjoy this year with us. Pick up your cup of coffee, tea, and join us for our first episode with Sabine René. Oh, here's Sabine. She's my sister, my friend, and we've known each other for the past 4 years. Yeah, and just to let you guys get an idea, the other day we were on the phone for 6 good hours just talking about stuff, you know, and it's wonderful to always chat with you. I'm glad we have this opportunity for you to also share with the people out there, wherever they may be. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You're very welcome. So on the show every week, we are going to have our guests share a favorite quote of theirs. And so Sabine will go ahead and share with us and tell us why this quote.
All right, so the quote that I have, I took one of those kind of personality tests recently. I love those name tests online. And the quote that they said would be so reflective of my personality and my character is this: I'm not here to fit into your world. Yay. I'm here to make my own. End quote. Yes. And I think this is so fitting for me at the moment because I realize I am an individual. I'm an individual, and I am an individual to be reckoned with.
Oh. Yes.
And I have so much to give. I have so much to offer to the world. And sometimes conformity is not what I'm called to. And so when I read this quote, I was like, yeah, it's me. It's so me. I'm here to make my own. I'm here to make the greatest impact possible. And however, whenever, wherever, I'm going for it.
Wow. So. Guys, I feel like you will need your pens because there are going to be a lot of retweetable quotes during our talk. But thank you so much for sharing that. You're in Korea.
Yes.
So of course the first question I guess people want to know is, why are you in Korea?
I ask myself that question all the time. Actually, no. I was in grad school at the time when the opportunity to come to Korea was first presented. I was coming towards the end of my studies, and of course you're thinking ahead, you know, what's next? What are you going to do? Where do you see yourself? And when the opportunity arose, I said, you know, I've never lived abroad. I've never lived on my own abroad. And I said, you know, and I love to travel. I've traveled extensively around the world, and it's one of my deepest passions. And I said, you know, it's an opportunity to serve somewhere else. It's an opportunity to learn a culture by being immersed in the culture. And of course, before Korea, I kind of fell in love with Korean drama, and so I just wanted to explore it and experience it for myself.
All night, every day?
All night, every day. I mean, Korean drama got me through grad school, I'll tell you that much. Those long nights of studying and writing papers, really just, So I just saw this as an opportunity to expand my horizon, expand my understanding of people and culture, and just have an opportunity to travel in Asia. You know, it's like right there in the middle. So.
Wow, thank you. So, by the way, Sabine was born and raised in New York. Woot, okay. But she has Haitian roots, which is very beautiful because we share our love for rice and beans and all of that as well. Okay. And so, a quick question that I have, Sabine, is that you're a mature woman.
Yes.
And yet still single.
Yes.
We're going to be very raw here, guys. And I just want to know, how have you been dealing with that? Has it been easy?
That's an interesting question. To answer plainly, no. I think that, you know, my appreciation for my singleness has its phases. But at this point in my life, living in Korea right now, I think the experience of isolation and loneliness kind of kicks in a little bit more deeper, because of course you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, you're away from your network, and so you tend to feel it more. And yeah, you know, when you are single and you have no one, you know, no significant partner, no significant other, it kind of accentuates that feeling of loneliness or isolation. So at times it's not easy. It hasn't been easy, and you know, baby, it's cold outside. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. Yeah.
And so what would you say has been the hardest part, aside from say the loneliness and all of that?
I think the hardest part, I think for me, is coming to terms with where I'm at in my life right now. I mean, I'm not married, I don't have any children, and at times it just feels like my life is aimless. You know, there's not a singular purpose to it, because, you know, as young women, as young girls, we are socialized to believe that, you know, your completion, your wholeness comes in having a family.
Yes.
And being at this stage in my life and not having that, it's like, well, am I really complete?
Yes.
Am I really whole? You know, don't I have anything to offer? Why isn't anybody? You know, but then I have to check myself.
Yeah.
I check myself because I recognize who I am, and you know, I look back over my life and see the things that I have accomplished as a single woman, the places that I've been, the people that I've met, and it's been an amazing journey, you know, but it doesn't cancel or negate the fact that there are moments I'm like,
So I could use somebody. You know.
So yeah.
And I think you hit on an important point there, that sometimes that feeling can kind of take away from everything else that you have experienced as a person, as an individual.
Right.
And like you have achieved so much, and yet nothing else seems to make sense because this one element
is
missing, because that's all you've been trained to kind of really focus on, you know, most of your lives and stuff. And so then in this period, right, what has been something that you really wish that you could have, say, from others or just the community or people and stuff like that?
You know, coming from a Caribbean background, and most viewers maybe might relate, there are a lot of conversations that our families don't have with us, our parents don't have with us, and so you kind of have to learn as you go, or unfortunately learn the hard way. And I wish that, you know, say the women in my family were a little bit more transparent with their own personal struggles, with singleness. Not every woman in my family is married, or, you know, I've had, you know, family members or even, you know, church members that have gone through divorce and have had, you know, bad breakups, and, you know, but there's no conversation, there is no authenticity in that exchange. And so you really don't know what people are feeling and experiencing, because they just kind of mask it.
Yes.
And, you know, and I guess it's just a matter of survival. They just have to get through. But I think for me, if I had those heart-to-heart conversations, then it may have made things a little bit easier for me when I hit that rough spot, that rough patch. Because you feel alone. You feel like, okay, is anyone out here going through this thing?
Is there someone I can talk to?
Is there someone that I can talk to? Has anyone experienced this place of, you know, just fear, confusion, or just, I don't know, like it's just like the Twilight Zone most of the time that you kind of feel. But I think that for me, in my particular community, that was missing. Because we just don't share that deep.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, you're a Christian.
Yes.
Okay. And one thing that I think, as a Christian, I guess happened for me in my case, is just people looking at you kind of with confusion as well, that, you know, and I hear, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
Why don't you have, and then they answer it. You know, maybe God thinks you're not ready yet, or God is preparing him for you.
Or you're too strong.
You're too strong.
You're too intimidating.
You're too this, you know.
Yeah.
How do all those those comments make you feel?
They affect. I think when I was in my 20s, mid 20s, it didn't faze me much because at that particular time I really wasn't. I was really focused on school. I was really focused on career, and so I didn't kind of factor in that part of my life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, whatever. Like, it's just like I'm independent.
Yeah.
I'm superwoman. Come on. I could do this on my own. But then, of course, when you have spent many years doing it on your own, and you have accomplished certain things, and you have achieve certain things, you get to a place where you're like, but I don't want to do this alone
yes.
anymore. It was fine in the beginning, but now it's like I want to come home and know that someone's there. And like, I'm not sure if I want all the pitter patters quite yet, but it's okay to have the hey baby, you all right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so
I like the voice.
And so for me, it was just like. The commentary I think started to affect me more later, because I kind of hit that mark where it was like, well, past a certain age, or there are more complications, for having children, and I'm like, okay, I know that, and so it got a little bit more frustrating, and I think I internalized it more later on in life because it was just like, well, is something wrong with me, kind of thing.
Yeah, that was like my next question.
There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. Like, I'm diva, I'm all that. But it was like, is something wrong with me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so you just kind of juggle between feeling very affirmed, feeling very self-confident, and then feeling not so confident, so yeah.
Do you think that affected your Christianity in any way, or your belief in God or faith?
Yes, I think it did. I take ownership of that. One of the things that, and that's why I love the quote that I made mention of earlier, because I've come to a place in my journey, in my life walk, where it's like no holds barred, growing up, again, Caribbean family, just kind of very strict, very kind of, you don't articulate your thoughts and your feelings too much, because you got that switch, somebody's ready for you, but I kind of grew into taking ownership of what I was feeling, and what that meant for me. I'm a writer. I love to write. I love to journal, and so there were times that I found myself expressing myself in writing. But then, over time, it was just like, oh, this is just, carrying a journal all the time. It was just like, so then I would record. I would record my voice, and then it's just like, oh, okay. But it got to the point where I took ownership of how I felt, and I had to admit to God, hey, I'm not happy right now. I'm not happy with this situation. I'm downright upset with you, Lord, because I felt, that I had served my community, I served my church, and maybe I was trying to gain brownie points or something, but it just felt like, well, everyone around me, had their special connection, or
and their babies
found their one, and it was just like, I'm young, I'm here too, kind of thing. So I was bold enough to to speak to God in prayer and say, hey, God, I love you, that, but
what's wrong with me?
Can you hook a sister up, kind of thing? And over time, it, like I said, hearing commentary from other people that wasn't always positive. It from the Christian community, it just kind of made it a little bit awkward. And I can honestly and truthfully admit that it did affect my perception of what I felt God's plan was for me in regards to relationship and family and things like that. So
would you say that those the effect those comments have on you, like it still happens now? Have you been able to rise above them, or how is that playing in your life right now?
Like I said, it kind of just depends on where I am in my head, in my heart. But I would say for the most part, I have managed to kind of bypass them because I know who I am. I've become more comfortable with myself, more comfortable in my skin, and and I know I'm amazing.
Yes.
And when the time comes, if that's what is planned for my life, it'll happen. But I just kind of have to shut off that valve from people saying or speaking things into my life or over my life that just don't match up with what I believe the Word of God says for me. And also just continue to wrestle with God in that, I won't let you go until you bless me because you said that you'll do this. Hey. So it's like, come on. Like, if I have to lose a hip or something, just, make it happen.
I like that I heard that, when the time comes, right? Because I know that for younger people coming up, I've said this to myself even, where it's just like, if I don't get it now or by such and such a time, I'm giving up. Maybe I'm not supposed to be with anybody, maybe I'm supposed to be single for the rest of my life, and then they just kind of give up on that whole aspect, right? And I mean, I guess sometimes it could be a good coping mechanism to think like that, but do you think that people should keep hoping?
I think hope is a beautiful thing. Hope keeps people moving forward despite the present circumstance and the situation. Have I lost hope at times? Yes. Have I stopped hoping intentionally at times? Yes. Because it just got too frustrating. It became a painful reality. But again, I just came to the realization that if I don't hope, then I lose faith. So it's like, for me, hope and faith kind of go together. And so it's like, I think it's important for us to hope, because if we don't, then we're not challenged to move forward. You remain stagnant. You remain stuck.
So then in hoping, how does one deal with, because when you hope is painful. I'll be honest with you, hope is painful.
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I do know.
Okay. How do you prevent yourself from going insane with that emotional pain and still be able to hold yourself together, still kind of hoping for the future without giving up? Because sometimes it's easier to just give up. Then nothing is coming. I'm okay, my independent self, I'm good, right? How do you prevent yourself from losing your mind and still hope?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. And I would honestly say that I've kind of vacillated between hoping and hopelessness. And the reality, the human experience is that. It's hoping for good and it doesn't come, and then falling into hopelessness. So it kind of goes back and forth. The pendulum swings back and forth. But for me, I think what has kept my mind is taking ownership of what I feel and not pushing it to the side or denying that this is what I'm experiencing, and having the right people around me that I could actually be that transparent with and say, listen, I don't want to believe, I don't want to, or I'm struggling with this, and I feel like I'm losing my grip. And knowing that you have that support where, you have that voice that just reminds you, Sabine, hey. So for me, it's having the audacity to still believe, hope against all hope, and it just, I don't know, it's a strange dichotomy, but I I'm here.
Yeah. So you've mentioned taking ownership a few times. What is that? What does that look
Taking
like?
ownership.
What does that look like?
Owning who you are, not living according to the narrative of others, not allowing other people's perceptions, prejudgments, ideas of who you are to dictate your life, to dictate your journey, to solidify the storyline of your life. Taking ownership of who you are, knowing, okay, this is how I'm feeling. Okay, let's own that feeling. Okay, now that we've owned it, how are we going to work through it? How are we going to talk through it? You know, if therapy is needed, are we gonna follow through with that? If you need to speak to someone about it, taking ownership of that, not pushing down your feelings. I think for me, that's very important because, you know, growing up, I did that a lot.
You just suppressed everything.
Everything was suppressed, and I think it came out a lot in my writing. And, you know, it was just like, okay, you know, I can't say these things out loud because then I'll be judged or I'll be punished.
Yes.
And so now I'm like, let's go.
I'll tell you what it is.
Let's go.
Oh, I know that. And that's something I appreciate. Because I think for me personally, that's what makes you so beautiful to me, you know, as a person, because no matter what people say about you, or no matter how people try to put you down because of, say, who you are, you still rise up to it, and you're still able to recognize yourself through that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful, and it's something that I admire about you, you know, because a lot of times we do let other people's voices like dictate for us how we should live our lives, and we may not admit to it, or we may still claim to be independent and stuff, but the decisions we make daily are based on what people are trying to tell us. And sometimes it's hurtful what people say, and it does
dig deep.
You know, it goes deep, but then you're able to rise above that. And I think that is absolutely beautiful, you know, and I wish I could just ingrain that on every young child's brain, that, you know, learn who you are and never forget who you are, no matter what other people may say, or no matter what people may see. And so I think that's something that I really, really love about your journey, and you know, like that I've learned to do from you as well. And so it's I also wonder, I know we talked, and now I'm thinking, man, you and I talk so much, you know, but it's like, what is one thing, or not even one, right? But growing up, I know we talked about the community and all of that, and not being able to do that. What do you think is the importance of really having parents, adults, other women share their stories with us? Because, I mean, I know everybody wonders, do my parents even have sex? You know, and stuff like that, you know, like things like that we wonder, we think about, but nobody shares, especially in our communities, you know. I think in most African communities is that way. It's taboo. You don't talk about these things.
Right.
You don't talk about your feelings. You don't talk about emotions at home. But for instance, I'm an only child. I grew up with my parents, you know. And so if I don't hear from them how I'm supposed to feel, then computers are educating me. The TV is educating me.
The wrong outlets
are educating. So what do you think is the importance of people being authentic in telling us, hey, I don't want to shut you down because you made a mistake. I want you to know that I went through it too, and this is how I went through it. Do you think that would even change the conversation?
You know, it's a wonderful thing you just said, because before coming to Korea, I was a part of a very, I don't want to say it's exclusive group, but it became exclusive honestly because these 5 women, including myself, we kind of came into a different area of church work and ministry and things like that together at the same time. And we just gelled, we bonded together. And at the time, all of us were going through different personal issues, different personal crises, and we helped each other through those things. But being the non-married, no children one in the group, you know, not having certain life experiences, I was kind of the one, I was in, but I was out because I hadn't gone through certain things myself. And so I found myself, and I had to admit it just recently, that at that time I was making certain judgments about these women that I love dearly, but they was just like, seriously, come on, like if I were you know. But then having gone through some things myself, I'm like, ooh, never, don't you ever put labels on anyone ever again, Sabine. Don't ever judge, because you don't know until you've been in that place. And you know, of course, we still talk and we still have, you know, our FaceTime and we video chat, whatever. And I'm just so encouraged at those moments, because it's years later, you know, when I was preparing to come to Korea, they were the ones rooting me on. And, you know, I'm just so grateful for them. But now I'm at a place where I'm like, man, you know, I've been through some of those things now. And they're like, it's about time. And I'm like, how come I didn't understand this before? And I think that in a community, authenticity and transparency is important, because I may not get it right now, but if you share with me, you know, this is what happened, this is how I felt, this is what this feels like if you go through, then I have some kind of reference point, you know. But sometimes you don't have any, and I think it makes it harder, because you feel like a complete outlier, oddball, I don't know. You just feel out of sorts. And it's hard to articulate because it's never been articulated. So I think that free talking.
Are we in English class now?
Free talking is so crucial. And you know, we come from cultures where oral history is important, and it's like, how can that translate into day-to-day life? Interpersonal, interrelational situations. You know, for grandmothers to talk to mothers and talk to their daughters. I mean, if my mom had, you know, talked to me about certain things, then I'm like, man, I probably would not have gone through certain things, and it's not necessarily tangible stuff, but it's more emotional. You know, and then of course, you know, trying to reconcile my spiritual self, my Christian self with my woman self, and everything in between, and you know, it wasn't always easy, but you know, I think that's important.
And I think that sometimes it also helps to have that, because then it's like you even know who to go to. Because I think a lot of women, and I think men also go through this too, it's when something happens, because no one talks to you about it, or at least none of the people you respect or you would like to hear advice from tell you of your honest experiences with similar situations, you don't know who to go to. And then you feel ashamed to even share that with somebody, because you feel like, this is a perfect man, you know, perfect woman. How am I going to share this? That they're going to change their outlook of me. They're going to think I'm not, you know, a Christian anymore. And so because of all these fears, you just keep it in, and you keep keeping it in, you know, and stuff like that. And so I think, like, I so wish that people could just be vulnerable, you know, with people, because
let me pause right here. I'll tell you this, I hate vulnerability. I absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it.
That's like, but tell us why.
But I have learned, you know, if I'm going to take ownership of where I'm at in my mind, in my heart, in my life, I need to be vulnerable. If I'm going to be that voice and that change for, you know, young women or young men, whoever it is that I come into contact with, I need to be able to let my guard down and share as well. But it's not my strong point.
No, I don't think it's very few people have been able to master that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still trying to work on that. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's needed.
Definitely.
It's really needed, especially from people who are adults. You know, because it's like simple things like boyfriends issues or the emotions coming on, to be able to help the child not feel like a complete, you know, loss, you know, and stuff, to share your experiences with them, you know. But I think a lot of adults are just so closed in, and I worry because especially now with our social media and all of that, where we share so much but we get nothing, you know, we don't get anything valuable from that. We need more platforms where people can really be authentic about what they're going through. And so it's like, that's something that I know that even you had mentioned, like in your situations, if people had spoken to you, you would have been able to kind of learn, you know. Well, it's been wonderful having you here, and I know that there's so much we could talk about, but we don't want people sitting there for so long.
We don't have 6 hours.
Yeah, we don't have 6 hours on here, but it's such a hard topic to talk about. So I'm really, really happy that you were willing to share with us, and thank you. Thank you so much. But before we go, I just want to know, are there any last words you would like to share with 2 types of women? One, the woman who is still in waiting, still single, feeling like giving up, all of that, and feeling like all their time is past, you know. And also the second woman is just basically all women, you know, and in regards to what we should really be sharing, being vulnerable and all of that.
What I would say to the first category of women is, you know, if you are waiting for that special someone, if you're waiting for that moment in your life to shift, be productive, be proactive while you wait. I think that for most women, they spend so much of their time focusing on this instance, and they lose themselves in the process. And I think for me, taking this adventure of moving to Korea, living here, being on my own, going through the highs and lows, was also very beneficial, because it showed me how resilient I am in spite of the wait. And so I challenge you to do the things that you love, do the things that that stretch you a little bit, that challenge you, that kind of push you out of that box of comfort zone, because you'll discover your strengths, you'll discover who you are, and you will realize that as you are quote unquote waiting, you are evolving. You're developing, you're growing. And I think that's the best solution or the best outcome, because you don't want to just wait. You don't want to be in a position or framework of waiting and not growing.
That's just a lot of anxiety.
It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of fear. You know, because what if it doesn't happen? So, do you?
Hey, I love that line. She tells me that every day. Do you? And I'm trying to do me. Right.
And for the second group, I think that women are amazing. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your journey is, take ownership of that. Take ownership of it. Own it. Be you. Be the best you that you can be. And, you know, of course, we're not always happy with where we are in life, and you know, we sometimes feel like, you know, you're kind of stuck. But take the pieces and reorganize them, reshift them, recalibrate if you must. But love yourself, love your life, love who you are, love others. You know, allow people to pour into you, but allow the right people to pour into you. The right things, definitely, and be willing to share as well. I think that it's important for you, as much as wanting to have community be there for you, but also be there for your community.
Yes.
It has to be a two-way street. So.
Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciated this. Yeah. Good. Well. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. We finished the first episode. Yay! I'm so excited. But it was wonderful. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you've been motivated. I hope you've been inspired. And I hope you share your story. If you're a woman in Korea and you want to share, you want to talk to me, be interviewed, let me know, send me a message. If you're a woman who's not here, you have something to share, you can still send your stories to me. We can do little Q&As as we go and talk about them. We want to involve and include everyone in Korea and out of Korea. Also, I want to again thank my Jews Pangyo for allowing us to use their studio. Join us next week and I hope to see you again. Have a great week.